dating a white guy. It was very difficult for me because I did feel like I was a traitor. I felt like I was betraying like my cultural, racial, and ethnic group. I've heard things like your ancestors are rolling in their graves.
Oh yeah,
you're a
definitely.
bed wench.
Yeah.
People have called me a you're for the streets. A lot of comments that are aimed towards me from black men. They'll say stuff like, she's gonna miss BBC in the next 5 years, or look at her, she's too aggressive, no black man would ever want her because she's ghetto. Or they'll say things like, you needed a simp white boy.
Well, those are like specific guys who are looking for a specific narrative to fit theirs.
What's up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of the Hanging Out Forever podcast. My name is Asia Corinne, your host, and I'm here with my boyfriend of 8 years and co-host.
What's going on, guys? Grant Blackwell.
Yeah, you might not recognize him because he looked fine as hell today. He looked real different.
Me.
Whole new him, whole new look. Who is this? All week I've
Who
been
is
like,
this? Yeah.
I don't recognize you. I don't know you.
Yeah.
I don't know you. And now,
Who's this guy in my house?
who's this guy in my house?
Yeah,
Who's
it's a
this
whole
guy that's
whole
trying to
new
touch
vibe.
my body?
Whole new vibe.
I'm into it.
There it is. Yep.
I love it.
You got to keep it fresh, guys. That's what we talk about. Got to keep it fresh.
Fresh.
Yeah, but I've done this before.
No,
where
but it's
I've
never
buzzed
looked
it.
this good.
I think we really got the blonde down this time, because before it was a little yellow and we were trying to figure out how we can balance it out, balance the color out. But this time we got it.
We got it. He let me do his hair. Anyway, our podcast is everything about relationships, the ups, the downs, the goods and the bads. And here we keep it real because we're all besties, and besties keep it real. No frou-frou shit. So let's go ahead and get into it.
Let's do it.
First of all, I'm going to say one more time, you look fine as hell.
Thank you, baby. I mean, you look good as hell. You are doing some new stuff with this is something we talk about all the time, is you have to switch things up, change things up. And we currently have been switching up our look, and I think that's really important for one another to think, wow, you look amazing, you look fresh, you look new,
Do I? Do I look hot?
I think you look really sexy.
Really?
Yeah. With the hair, with the chopsticks,
right?
Yeah,
I know, these are kind of my vibe.
I've
been wearing skirts.
Swirl. I like the swirl.
I've been wearing more dresses recently and stuff. So
yeah, just switch it up. You got to switch your style up, switch some things up.
To go like 2 seconds off topic, but still kind of on topic. Yes, what Grant is saying is so true. You have to switch it up and you have to keep it fresh. Got to keep it sexy. There was this period of time where so before I didn't understand that it was important to look sexy, like for your man, or attractive, or like well kept, and I just didn't get it. And I would be the type of girl, and I did this in my last relationship, I would go to the Ralphs. I would literally go in public with this, what are those hats called? I call it my scuttle bucket.
It's like a ski hat or a Sherpa hat. It has the two little talon things coming down.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would wear something like that. I'd wear
she
men's
would look
boxers.
Insane, guys. She would look insane.
You don't
I'm
have to
sorry.
underscore.
I'm sorry, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I know the exact fit you're talking about.
Yeah, I would wear boxers.
Yeah, boxers.
And a wife beater and a Sherpa hat out of the house. I would go to the bank like that. And
some Ugg boots. It was
a whole thing. And so there was a period of time, more towards the beginning of our relationship, where I was like, why won't you have sex with me? Why are we having sex? And I'm gonna tell y'all for real. I was like, are you asexual? What is it? And he was like, no, I'm not asexual. I don't want to fuck you. You look like a pirate.
Yeah. I think I did see, because you had these boots that you would wear with that crazy fit. But yeah, I mean, what can I say? Yeah, we would have arguments about it.
Yeah. And then it just boiled up one day, and it boiled over. And I was like, why are we having sex? Why don't we have sex? And he was like, you think I want to have sex with you? Look at how you dress. You dress like a pirate all the way around the house.
Yeah.
And it was true. And I had to look at myself in the mirror, and I said, I do look like Captain Jack. This is unruly. this is unruly. Insane. Yeah. And so ever since then, I've been a lot more. I still dress a little crazy around the house.
And I mean, obviously
that's
that's normal to be comfortable around each other and dress comfortably. But I think you need to, every once in a while, maybe step it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And just show your partner that, hey, I'm sexy even when I'm chilling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that was a good moment. That was the whole thing. Yeah, that was a good moment for us. I think it was an important conversation to have. And
scarred me for life.
It's definitely changed. So, and I was doing the same thing. I think you told me you would say, well, I don't like when you have your neck beard all crazy, and I don't like when you have this all crazy. So I had to do some, I had to look inward and
I didn't let that pirate comment slide. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah,
he was like, "Oh, you look like a pirate," and I was like, "Well, you think I like your neck beard?
Yeah, you think I like your neck beard?
You'll never shave that thing. You think I think that's cool?"
Mm-hmm.
And so now he's always smooth necked. Literally, it's smooth like ice cream. If you lick it, it goes like very easy. It's not like rough like a cat tongue. Now it's smooth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like butter.
You gotta talk to each other and know what each other like, and give that to one another.
And stay nasty.
Mm-hmm. Stay nasty. That's important too.
Look at the cat staring at herself in the mirror.
I know. She's gaining consciousness.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Me. That's crazy. Anyway, do we want to say anything else about keeping it spicy, keeping it fresh?
Yeah, I mean, that's something we talk about a lot, I feel like, is communicate. Make sure you're communicating new things.
You look hot.
Make sure you're staying on the same page with one another. Mm-hmm. Keeping it fresh, keeping the dates fresh, keeping your style fresh, keeping the the relations fresh, trying new things, trying things outside of the box, pulling each other outside of the box, putting each other inside the box. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, and I think that it's just good to keep things fresh. I think that is the key to a long-term relationship. That's how I feel about us being in an 8-year relationship. We talk about this all the time I say this all the time, is it really does not feel like we've been together for 8 years. It feels so new, and it feels like we've been together for, I don't know, like 3 years. What would you say?
What were you talking about? I was not listening. I was just like, the whole time I was like, damn, you look fine as hell.
Look at me. My eyes are right here. Okay.
Oh, they are? Sorry.
Not on the top of my head.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
What?
She keeps looking at the fresh new cut.
I keep looking at the whole thing. I'm just like, damn, you look hot. What were you saying? I'm just kidding. I heard you. Eye candy for sure. Definitely distracting. Anyway, no, I don't think that it feels like we've been dating 8 years. And that's because we do keep so many things fresh. Like, I don't know. Before we started dating, I never really had a concept of being bored of the same partner sexually. That's never really been on my radar or a concern, because I just never thought about it. But now that we're 8 years in and we're not bored, I think about it a lot. Where I'm like, I can't believe
impressive. That. Yeah, it's impressive. I'm impressed with us.
I'm impressed with that. Yeah. We've never cheated on each other.
Never cheated.
There's never been any infidelity.
Opened it up, nothing like that.
Never opened it up.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just
still fresh.
And I think also we're realistic. Like I know that you're going to find other women attractive. I know that I'm going to find other men attractive. Like, I think that there are a lot of people who want to be the number one supplier for their partner. And where they're like, oh, it's weird if you watch porn. Don't watch porn.
That's crazy. You were telling me about that. You saw that.
There's like a huge thing online I see all the time with women who are like, I would never be with a man that watches porn.
That is good luck,
porn
ladies.
Is so
that
bad.
Is so unrealistic. Like, I when I see things like that of women or people are just shaming others for watching porn or thinking that it's realistic to not expect your man to watch that, it's going to happen behind your back now. Yeah. And now it's going to turn into a lie. You're making it a lie, where it could just be something that you guys are open and transparent about. But now you're creating this lie. You're creating the lie by forcing your partner to hide that behind your back.
I totally agree. Yeah. Like, I'm not disillusioned to the fact that you probably fap to something that isn't me. You know, like that's not a big deal to me. I think it would bother me maybe a little bit if what you were into was so far off from what I am.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would make me feel a little weird.
I think that porn can be a slippery slope in a way of, if you rely on it too much, it can become something that will be the downfall of your relationship and will pull the attention, the sexual attention, away from your relationship.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
think that if you get too into it, you get too like addicted. People get addicted to it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's super addictive. So I think that can be a detriment to a relationship.
Yeah,
for sure. But realistically, everybody watches it. Everybody's going to watch it. doing it on a daily basis might not be the best thing.
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah, that might not be the best thing for your relationship.
I'd have a problem.
Even if you're single and you're watching it daily, you're creating a narrative in your head of expectations, and you're creating this thing that's not really realistic. That's not what's actually happening in life. Yeah,
it's theater in a way.
Yeah.
It's theatric. It's, boisterous in a way. Some people like the compilation videos. I can't wrap my head around that.
I know, yeah.
People that like compilation porn, I'm like,
that's like watching like 5 different movies, just like 2 minutes of each of it, and they're just playing.
How are you getting into any movie?
You're not getting into it. There's no beginning, middle, and end. It's just like the middle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay, this is a little TMI, but
that's pretty funny. That's actually a good metaphor that I said.
Middle.
Yeah, or it's just like 10 movies mashed together, and it's like, what? Who's gonna watch that?
You're like watching Finding Nemo and The Boys.
Yeah, just like
what's
mashed.
happening right now? Yeah. I have you ever like looked? We usually don't talk about stuff like this, but have you ever looked for a porn and then you think that you found a good one and then it's a freaking compilation? You're like, my God.
Oh yeah, but you can usually see if you look in the hashtags, it's usually like hashtag anal, hashtag, hashtag facial, hashtag comp or compilation.
I've never done that. See, I didn't know that. I've never looked at the hashtags.
Look at the hashtags. It'll tell you everything you need to know. There won't be any surprises. Yeah.
Grant, you're so funny.
That's pretty funny.
I love
that.
I
hate
That's
compilation
hilarious.
videos though. It
no,
sucks.
It's the worst.
Yeah, it sucks.
Like what?
Oh yeah, there's usually like a mix over it or like a music.
Yeah, it's like a really intense like.
But it's also you can tell.
It's like basically
you can sometimes tell because like if the cum shot is in the beginning of the film, that's a comp.
Okay, he's done his studying, guys.
It's a compilation.
He has done his
research.
Let's
move on now.
But basically, I don't think that it's negative to watch porn in a relationship.
No, it's so
I don't think that it's
normal.
a big deal. If you were consistently doing it, it'd be a problem. But also, not to continuously talk about OF. Like I feel like we talk about OnlyFans a lot. But me.
Oh, this is an interesting
for people
topic
that don't know me, I've done a lot of like sex work based documentary work.
Yeah.
So I'm totally down with the girlies. Okay. I love that they're all doing that. I'm very pro sex work. But that being said, if you watch porn, that's totally fine for me. If you had like a favorite porn star, like Tara Reid, I think, right? Isn't that a white girl porn star?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah. Maybe I made that name up.
I think that's like two names.
Stormy Daniels. That's one.
Stormy Daniels.
That's a porn star, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't really know porn stars' names except for Rico Strong.
Rico Strong.
You know who that is?
I think so. Yeah, Rico Strong.
When I was in high school, all the guys that I went to school with, they'd be like, they would always talk about Rico Strong porn.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, that's why I know who that is. I don't watch porn. But anyway, it's too much.
Yeah, okay.
It's not my thing. But anyway,
but
if you were watching regular porn and you had like a favorite porn star like Stormy Daniels and it's just like open-ended porn, then I wouldn't have a problem. But if you were subscribing to her personal OnlyFans, for me, that's kind of where I have to draw the line because that feels a little bit more personal.
It gets personal.
To me.
And you
I can understand.
You can message the person. You can get private videos. It's a lot more personal.
It's more direct.
Yeah.
And it's less general. Like if she was your favorite on a porn platform, no problem. I don't care. But if you were subscribing and taking our household money out.
That's the thing too. You're sending them money. Yeah.
And I mean, I'm down with the girlies making the coins. You know what I mean?
Don't do it off of your boyfriend.
Just not you. I don't care what anybody else's boyfriend does.
Yeah.
It's just that I would feel like that was a little bit personal, I guess. But even it's so weird because if you went to the strip club all the time, I'd be like, dude, what the fuck?
Oh yeah, that's always weird. But if you were
like, if it was like a bachelor party and you went to a strip club, or you wanted to go to a strip club for your bachelor party, I don't care. Do what you want. You know what I mean? I get that. Because didn't you go to a strip club one time when you were in Seattle?
In Seattle?
No. You've been to strip clubs while we were dating.
I think you said you were like, I had a dream that you went to a strip club or something like that while I was in Seattle, and you like made that up in your mind. Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
So I don't think that happened, but yeah. See that I think a lot of women would agree with that though, if their husband or man, whatever, is subscribe to somebody's OnlyFans,
Yeah.
that's a totally different relationship than you watching porn or you watching like a free porn video.
Yeah.
It is way more personal, and typically the women on OnlyFans are way more accessible than the women on like these big sites, you know, these big kind of stars, porn stars.
Yeah.
You know, being an OnlyFans girl is different than being a porn star.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot more personal. Like I
Yeah.
said, I want the girlies to get every ounce of the money. But I think that if you were partaking in that, that would make me feel
Yeah.
a little insecure.
That
a
makes
little
a
bit.
lot of sense. Yeah.
It would just be, it's like me subscribing to like Channing Tatum's or like Idris Elba if they had something like that.
But that's even different because there's these huge figures. I think with
true.
OnlyFans, it's a lot more personal and it's a lot more accessible, like I said, because the person's
there's so
more
many
accessible.
everyday people who happen to do it.
And, and I think that it can be kind of the similar situation with porn where it can be addictive to subscribe to all these people and send a bunch of money. Like there was that guy he was like the highest paying
what porn star was that?
Of Ruby Rose.
Oh right. She
And
doesn't do porn though. She's an OnlyFans
She has
girl.
an OnlyFans.
Right.
And he paid, I think it was like he must be like rich. He must have money because he paid like $50,000 in a month or something crazy like that. So, and he met her in person too. That was
that white dude, right?
Yeah.
So random.
That was pretty scary.
Shout out to her. Shout out to the girlies that are doing
that.
You know?
Get your money. Yeah.
But yeah, that's that about that. Really, I've been seeing that a lot online, and I'm like, that's so unrealistic because I would hate to put you in a position to where you felt ashamed about something that you do for like every once in a while. If it was chronic, it'd be an issue.
That's an issue. Like chronic of like anything is typically an issue. You know, something that is going to take time away from your day, is going to take energy away from you, do things like that, you know. That's never good. But yeah. But I think it's normal. It's normal. It's healthy. Like everybody does it. You shouldn't feel ashamed.
Moderation.
Yeah, you shouldn't feel ashamed.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, there's that.
There's that. And today we're planning to talk about our relationship, which just so happens to be an interracial relationship. I don't know if you guys could tell.
I don't think you guys have noticed that actually.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you noticed that Grant's white and that I'm black?
I don't think they've noticed. I don't think it's hard to tell, but yeah, we didn't want to be one of those platforms that emphasizes it and makes it our whole thing. You know, we don't want to be those people, to be honest, but it seems to be a topic that people are so interested in, and anytime we post something about it, people go crazy over it or have a lot to say, have a lot of questions, things like that. So I think that we're going to kind of talk about the main thing that we've been seeing people asking, or the main topic of the conversation that we've been seeing. And we have a listener letter too?
We have a few.
Okay,
but we have like 2 or 3.
But we have one that's specifically about
both
interracial.
Of them are interracial.
Dating. Okay,
like there's
cool.
3 of them that are about interracial dating.
Well, we'll read one of them, right?
They're both short. I feel like it's
okay. Cool. So we have a listener letter too at the end about interracial relationships, and we've been having some posts go crazy recently that are 2 interracial relationship videos. So you guys seem really interested in it. So we are here talking about it. Yeah. So what would you say is something that you've been seeing in the comments, or just like something that you see online?
Some of the things that I feel like I see online are a lot of negative comments towards Black women who date outside of their race. I really think that Black women get it the worst. Women in general get it the worst, but out of the women, I think that Black women get it the worst. You know, I've seen people say things to white women such as, you're betraying your bloodline, how dare you, you're disgusting, you're with a monkey, he's gonna leave you, you're gonna become a baby mama, you're gonna become, wow, look at you in line to become a statistic, you know.
It seems to be, and you just addressed it, like it seems to be the men coming after the woman of that certain race.
Yeah.
The most.
The men coming after, after the women of their same race.
Yeah.
Because of another type of man from a different race.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so I see that happening to, white women. I've seen that in some of their comments, which I think is like insane. But at the same time, those comments aren't really geared towards them. Those comments are more so geared towards the black men that they date. Like you're going to become a stereotype is an underlying insult to black men and what they expect of black men. It has really nothing to do with the white woman herself. And so I would say that as a black woman, it's very direct. Like I've heard things like your ancestors are rolling in their graves.
Oh yeah.
You're a
definitely.
bed wench.
Yeah.
People have called me a whore. You're for the streets. I've gotten all kinds of death threats, like really insane, crazy stuff. And it doesn't make me sad or scared, but like they're crazy. Nobody's ever called me the N-word.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is, because you would think these loose lip people would say something like that. But I think
we're not heavy on Twitter. I think Twitter is the place for that. Or
is
X
it?
Is,
yeah, that must be it.
Because Elon Musk made it so you can literally say whatever you want.
I respect the free speech sentiment.
Not that free though.
But
that's a little
pretty
too
free.
free. That's too free.
That's pretty loose.
Too free. But Instagram, TikTok, things like that, they typically filter bullshit.
Yeah,
like
I've never seen a comment like that, but I've seen some really hateful things, or people telling me that I am a disgrace or that I'm promoting interracial relationships. And I'm like, so I can't be with a white man without promoting an interracial relationship?
That's the thing too,
that doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, until right now, we haven't really sat down and talked about it and really promoted it. We're not even promoting it. We're just kind of talking about our experience of it or what we see. And so we don't want to be those people either. We don't want to be the people who are promoting interracial relationships. That's not our agenda or anything like that. We're literally just being, and all of a sudden we're promoting because that's just what we are. Yeah. So it's tough to even acknowledge that stuff, because it's like, dude, we're just being us. Yeah, we're literally just living.
I think that's so interesting too. And I've seen a lot of comments that are aimed towards me from black men, and they'll say stuff like, but how do you feel about us? How do you feel about black men? Why are you dating a white guy? Or there's that one clip where I talk about what it was like dating a white guy and how it was different from my experience growing up around black men and the type of black men that I grew up around. And so many black men, and honestly just people in general, took that as me saying something negative about black men, which was that was just not the case. Yeah. That's not what I was saying. But I think that when, as a black woman, I'm seen with you and I say anything about black men, if it's not directly positive, like if it's not absolutely very clearly outlined, then for some reason it leaves so much room to interpretation, and they think that I'm disparaging black men, which is not something I would ever do online.
People are much more hypersensitive to your opinion on it.
Right. Yeah. Like it's not something I do, and it's not something I would ever do like online as well. So it is a little bit frustrating, and those types of comments, they used to make me feel really sad, because I mean, like, I'm talking about the black men in my life and how I feel protected by them. And then there's these random black men online that think I'm disparaging the black men in my life. And then I start thinking, what if the black men that I used to be friends with see this clip and they think I'm disparaging them? That hurts me, because I'm so much of the person that I am today because I had that specific group of friends and that like specific couple of guys that I dated, and so it sucks to feel like I have to be on the defense, and it really sucks to feel like I have to hyper or over explain myself when I feel like I'm being very clear. And then this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll, defer to you. But there was this one guy, and he was commenting on our post, and he said, like, black men will say things to me online where they'll say stuff like, she's going to miss BBC in the next 5 years, or look at her, she's too aggressive, no black man would ever want her because she's ghetto. Or they'll say things like, what did this one guy say? you needed a simp white boy. None of us would take you. Poor white boy. She's going to be running back to us. And it's just like, who are these guys? Because that's not even my experience of black men. It's just like my experience of certain types of black men on the internet that talk like that.
Well, those are like specific guys who are looking for a specific narrative to fit theirs.
Yeah.
And they'll take anything anybody says and will skew it into their own perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anything you say, because that's the thing. I see a lot of people in general saying about you is, oh, she's being so offensive, or she's being disrespectful by what she's saying. But it's like, no, she's literally just being open and honest, and we're having like an honest conversation. I think people don't understand that, and people don't have honest communication with their partners typically. Maybe not typically, but there's a lot of people who sweep a lot of stuff under the rug, and they're not going to have that confrontational conversation. And so when they see other people doing that and having those hard conversations, they're just blown away, and they're like, this is so polarizing. Yeah. But I think that the thing that has kept us together this whole time is having those conversations, is having those tough conversations. You can't shy away from that. And I'm not just going to sit here and shut you down if you start sharing how you feel. You know, that's just not going to happen. So I want to know how you feel. I genuinely am curious and want you to be able to express yourself to me. So yeah, I think some guys just don't get that. Yeah. They just don't, they'll never understand that, and they're never going to find a girl they're never going to find a relationship where they can be honest with each other. There can't just be one way honesty. You know, like they're going to feel like they can say whatever they want to their girl because they're the man, and they can say things like that, and she's not allowed to say anything or be any somewhat disrespectful to me or anything like that, and she's going to keep her mouth shut. That's not a realistic perception of a relationship. Right. You're both gonna have opinions. You're gonna both have to be able to communicate, and you're not always gonna like what your partner has to say. You know, I think that if you try to fluff everything up in everything you say, then the point won't get across. Right. You know, sometimes you have to have that harsh conversation. Don't be a dick, but have those harsh conversations sometimes. You know, sometimes people can be blunt and they just want to come off as an asshole, you know. But I think that if you truly want to fix something, or if you truly have good intentions behind it, it's okay to have those hard conversations. Yeah. And it's okay for your girl specifically to bring up those conversations. Like, that's fine.
I think a lot of people, to your point, I think a lot of people conflate being open and honest with being disrespectful.
Exactly.
I think that when you and I have certain conversations, men and women will be like, don't you embarrass your man like this, or he's going to need all the luck he can get with her ass. It's really just that we have facilitated such a safe space with each other that I'm allowed to be open and honest, and I don't have to stay in my role as a woman and only say things to you that are within the guidelines of protecting your ego and masculinity, because there are going to be problems that we might come across that might impact that. But luckily, you're not driven by your ego in that way, in a way that it can be fractured by anything I have to say or a problem that might arise. And I remember in the beginning of our relationship, I feel like this was the case, is you thought that I thought that there was always a problem. You're like, why are we always talking about things? Why are we always trying to fix things? Yeah. Why is there always a problem? I'm like, there's not always a problem. I'm trying to get ahead of something that I think might be a problem in the future. Down the road. So let's talk about it now. And there are a lot of people that don't want to talk about it until it gets to the
boiling point.
The boiling point. And I think that that is a slippery slope, because if you wait to talk about it until it's at the boiling point, then the partner can be like, well, you never brought this up before. This is new. Well, you wouldn't let me talk about it when it was fresh.
Or it'll boil up into this huge thing, and where you could have nipped it in the bud before and just kind of, brought it up in a calm environment instead of bringing it up in this hostile environment. Right. Yeah. So what were we talking about?
We snowballed from interracial relationships and like disrespect and the things that I say to you.
Gotcha. And what the type of comments we see.
And the type of comments that we see.
People
and I just want to
misinterpreting what Asia's doing and saying. Right. When we're just having an honest conversation. Yeah. But that's the thing too, and we talk about this, is the relationships and things like that you see online. It's all just like
smoke and mirrors,
fairy tale. everything's okay. There's no issues. You know what I mean? We are always in a good place. That's not how it is. That's not realistic. And I think that when we have conversations, we have conversations. So we're sitting here having a real conversation. And if you feel some type of way, you're going to let me know.
Yeah.
You know, like that's just what it is. It's a real moment that got caught on camera.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we like posting it because it flips people out, but, but
it's real and authentic conversations.
But
that
it's
we would
also
have regardless.
real. Yeah, it's real.
I think that that's important. And I feel like I need to be so insanely clear about how I feel about Black men online, because when you and I talk about our dynamic, it seems as though people want me to hate Black men, or Black men assume that I hate them. And that's just like literally not the case at all. The most important men in my life are Black men. So like, what do I look like walking around being like, oh, I hate Black men. Black men are a problem. And I think that that's
not the case. That's not what we want to portray.
Yeah. And it's just so interesting being in an interracial relationship and having a podcast and putting our relationship out there, because if we post something and it's positive and it's talking, and I'm talking about you and how much you've changed me and how much I love you and how your softness has inspired me to be soft, then we have women in the comments saying things like, I need me a white man. Where's my white man?
I know.
Please
like
send me a white man.
You can't win with, like, you can't really win.
I don't want to promote that either.
It goes one way or the other. Like if we're saying good things about it, then it's like, you know, people always, I guess that is the thing about being in an interracial relationship, is it's always going to get brought up no matter what we say.
That's true.
You know, especially online. 'Cause people, that's just how people see it. And I mean, I get it. It is what it is. We are in a interracial relationship, but sometimes we're just, you know, a relationship that's having relationship conversations, and it turns into this racial dynamic.
Yeah. And that makes me feel, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, which that is what it is, but it doesn't need to be embedded into every little thing we do and say.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we shied away for the longest time of that being our brand, is us being this interracial couple who's going all in on the whole interracial thing.
Right.
You know, that's not us. That's not our thing, because we wanted to skew away from it and didn't want people to kind of obsess or put us in that box. But it happened regardless. So I mean,
it happens. And if that's somebody else's experience, that's fine. But I've seen so many comments on our page that are just like very disparaging towards Black men and Black women. And I have to delete those. Like when people say like, and obviously I can't delete every comment on the planet because we go viral so many times that it's just like at some point I'm tired. You lose control of the comments. I can't keep going through the comments every day. We get hundreds of comments a day. And then at that point, I'm so socially drained because I'm interacting and I'm deleting and I'm reading and I'm like sensory overload. So there are so many things that I don't even see, to be honest. I probably only see 40% of all the comments that we get across all the platforms. And so it becomes difficult to monitor. So people who are saying like, oh, wow, I want a white man, or somebody send me a white man, whatever. Yeah. There's not much I can do about that. I've seen them. No. But like when I hear people say things like, Black men are trash, and thank God I've dodged a bullet by not dealing with trash Black men. Delete.
Yeah, see, like things like that. That's
I can't. We're not going to promote
something
that.
We want to promote. That's not something that we want people thinking or getting from our content. Yes. Like that's not the narrative that we want you to think. So if you come up with that on your own, go ahead, but keep that to yourself, because it's not what we're saying. It's not what we're portraying at all. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just such a slippery slope. And it feels like, personally for me as a Black woman, I feel so caught in the middle sometimes, because there are the people that see our relationship for what it is, and they know that I'm Black and you're white, and that we're together, and they do value that level of like interracial dynamic, and that's fine. Most of the time it's very neutral. Yeah. But then I think that we also have some people that fetishize the fact that we're in an interracial relationship, and they gear towards how can I get me a white man? They cross the line with it, yeah.
And then there's the opposite side who see that we're in an interracial relationship and they think that I'm with a white guy because I hate Black men. Yeah. That is so much of our comments, like geared towards me.
And
they'll be like,
it's different for us because we're not just an interracial couple, we're an interracial couple online. So we're exposing ourselves to all of this.
Yeah.
We're exposing ourselves to all the different corners of the internet.
Right.
It would be different if we weren't online personalities and we were just kind of going about our day, because then we wouldn't encounter anything.
Right.
But, well, maybe every once in a while, but, you know, it wouldn't be as much as it is now because we see it every day because we're posting every day. We're putting ourselves out there every day. So that's the difference between our relationship and maybe other interracial relationships where they're not as public.
Right. And I think that as it pertains to being caught in the middle of like this threefold dynamic, you know, the people that see that we're interracial, they love it, they get it, but it's still that they love us. Then the people that fetishize us, and then the people that are like, oh, you're with a white guy because you hate black men. I feel like a pressure to have to explain how I feel about black men online very often. And then I have to just realize that no explanation will ever be enough for some people. So I leave it alone. Like there's this guy, he commented something, I don't even remember what it was. And I was like, that's not the point of this clip. And he was like, oh, you hate black men. I said, I literally never said that or anything like that. Then another guy was like, well, how do you feel about black men? It is not my job to go around and pacify everybody that thinks that I hate them. I don't hate them. That's not the case. I just am dating a white guy. It has nothing to do with how I feel about black men. And I think that so often the expectation and the social understanding of black people and white people, no matter the gender, and interracial dynamics is people project a level of self-hatred onto you because you're dating a white person. And like there's a part of me that understands that because of the white and black historical what was it?
Systemic thing that is ingrained in American culture. Just
the white and black dynamic and our historical dynamic and how that transfers into today, you know?
It's embedded in everything.
I do understand why they think it'd be a self-hate thing because I had a difficult time dating you in the beginning. And I think this is like a transitional period of our conversation is
where
I've
I was
always
about
been
to ask.
You're going to ask me something?
I think it's going exactly where I thought.
Do you want to ask me first?
I was going to say, like, what was the hardest thing when we first started? Like, what was the hardest thing in getting on the same page?
I feel like getting on the same page or dating a white guy?
Both. Same thing.
I'm glad that when we started dating, we weren't online in the same way that we are now. I'm glad that we didn't have a public platform and a podcast where we put ourselves out there, because I did feel a lot of shame dating a white guy because I'm so happy being black and I'm very proud of my heritage and my culture. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, what if a white person said they were proud to be white? It's different. It just is. You know what I mean? But you can be happy to be who you are, whatever. But there's a different dynamic of pride when you have a cultural experience rooted in a multifaceted existence. And I'm not saying that white people don't have that. It just is different when you're black and you have a culture, you know, whatever. I think that dating you in the beginning was very difficult for me because I did feel like I was a traitor for quite some time. I felt like I was betraying like my cultural, racial, and ethnic group. And I felt embarrassed for a while. And I can't tell you like how long it was. It was just very different for me. Especially like growing up, there were like one or two people would be like, oh, you're going to be with a white guy. You're going to date a white guy. You're going to marry a white guy. And it's like only two people have ever told me that, but I'd never been with a white guy before. So when we got together, it was so different because I didn't know what to expect. And I had like, I'd never kissed a white guy. So I was like, I got full lips. What would that be like? Kissing a white guy. White people have smaller lips. Like, you know, so I did think about stuff like that. And I've had some of my friends ask me really crazy questions like, is it pink? Like when I first started dating you, they, my guy friends, they're very alt. Love them. And they were like, so what's it like being with a white guy? And I was like, and they said,
is it pink?
I was like,
You're like, surprisingly, it's the tannest piece of his body. I don't know how it works, but it's, I don't know why it is,
I don't know.
It is. It's like olive. I don't know.
Don't talk about it.
It's like my dick
detail.
is Greek. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but,
no,
that's
seriously.
Funny. But yeah, I understand that because, I think the
my
difference,
dick is Greek.
I think, the difference for me.
Sorry.
There you go.
Go ahead. That was funny.
Yeah, I think the difference for me with dating a black woman was something I needed to get used to.
Right.
It was definitely something I needed to get used to, and something that I needed to kind of break down the barriers that I had as a white guy and seeing in how I saw the world. Mm-hmm. That's something that kind of hits you like a wave, and it's tough at first to be fully open to that, or just be fully open to understanding your perspective. Because obviously you've had to see the world differently to protect yourself. And I needed to open my mind to that and be like, not let my past or the way I grew up affect that in a way of being like, oh, she's just overreacting in this situation. Mm-hmm. Or you've never seen this happen. Like, so it must not be happening in the world, things like that. And, I've had like black people around me, black friends and things like that, but I've never been in a relationship with somebody where I'm with them constantly and we're living together. We're out in the world together and so we're sharing an experience. And so I'm now a part of your experience. And I'm seeing how you're being seen in the world, and I'm seeing what your experience is. And I have to be open to that experience. And I can't make you feel like you're not living that experience or you're not feeling the things that you're feeling. And I have to make sure that I'm perceptive to how you're being viewed in the world. I think that was like the toughest thing was just figuring out how to navigate that. In making sure that I can be as aware and understanding as possible, so you don't feel like you're in it alone, or you don't feel like you're having to deal with it by yourself, And so that took some time, and I think that we both had arguments about it. We both had fights about it, of you not feeling like I was as perceptive as I should have been. And I think it took time for me to fully realize that and kind of put down my ego and be like, you know what, you need to see the world how she sees it. And you need to understand that if she's feeling a certain type of way or she's feeling uncomfortable, it's because she's had a lifetime of experiencing these things. So you should just take her word for it.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, that was so well said. No notes,
No notes,
That was incredibly well said. Was there a particular instance throughout our entire relationship where you were like, damn, like this is what it's like being black? This is what it's like for her being black?
I think it's just,
or like where you were just hyper aware of my blackness.
I can't think of like a specific scenario, but I think just going to certain restaurants or going to the grocery store or being in situations around my family, maybe, because I think that I remember this one time we went to one of my family events. Yeah. And, my family is white, believe it or not. But, so it was just a bunch of white people in Asia. And she was feeling very uncomfortable about the situation. She was just kind of like, I just feel weird because, it's a bunch of white people and I don't want them to judge me. I don't want them to, you feel like the odd person out. And I didn't understand that at first, I guess, because I feel really comfortable around your family, when it's, an all black family and me, I feel comfortable, but I have to understand that that's a totally different dynamic being around a bunch of white people compared to being a white guy being around a bunch of black people. You know, it's a totally different dynamic historically, and that type of stuff is going to make you feel uncomfortable, and that makes total sense. And I think I just needed to realize that. And so I think it happened one time where you were feeling uncomfortable, and I wasn't perceptive of that, and I didn't come to your aid in that way, or I didn't come to you and be like, hey, how are you feeling? And I didn't notice. But then, we had a conversation about, hey, like sometimes these situations with like when we're in a family gathering or something, and it's a bunch of white people and just me, I may start to feel uncomfortable. And so we had that conversation. And then there was another time where I could tell it was the same situation. We were at a family function, and I could tell that you were, feeling a little off that day. And so I brought you outside, or we were like outside hanging out, and I was like, hey, how are you feeling? Are you okay right now? Like with the situation with all the whiteys? And, and so you were like, I'm feeling a little weird, but you felt seen, and you felt, protected in a way because I was aware. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's really what it's about, is if you were the type of guy, I mean, at the beginning, right? You were unaware, but that behavior has definitely been adjusted, and I don't worry about that now. So that's something that makes me feel so much more comfortable, because when you are a black person, especially like the type of black that I am, like no sugar, no cream, like just straight up black, there is a concern of whether or not you're going to be fetishized in any environment that is predominantly white, especially if those white people don't know black people, where it's kind of become,
or like showcased.
Right, exactly. Where you kind of become like a, I was going to say party favorite, but that's wrong. Where you become like the topic of conversation.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Where it's like, everybody wants to know you. You're so new and you're so dynamic. And I just don't, it just feels weird.
That is awkward.
And sometimes you often, as a black person, can't tell if it is because you're black or if it's because you're new.
Yeah.
And I think that you being aware makes me not feel nervous, because if I need a minute, if I need a break, then I can take one with you. And I love your family. Like, I love everybody in your family, but it is sometimes a lot. It is kind of like a sensory overload type thing. And I've grown up in white areas, up until like the 6th grade. Me and my brother and like one other guy and his sister were the only black kids in 5th grade, 3rd grade, something like that. And that was a very jarring experience for me. So I feel like I have a very firsthand account of a specific type of whiteness that I try to stay away from.
Yeah.
And your parents aren't like that, and your family's not like that. But I still, as a black woman, have been raised, and as a black person in general,
keep your guard up. Yeah.
Well, as black people, you are raised and you're reared to be aware of your blackness all the time. And so when you're in a room that is so opposite of you and your experience, it heightens your experience of your awareness, and then you're forced to be on the whole time. And it feels like a perpetual code switch. You know what I mean? And not everybody code switches. I love that for them, but I wouldn't even say that I'm code switching. I'm just trying to be comfortable by not being uncomfortable, And
that's the thing too, is like of being in a interracial relationship and having that dynamic added to the relationship, is you're dealing with normal relationship stuff, but then on top of that, you're dealing with the interracial aspect of it too. Right. So it's like a whole new set of problems and a whole new set of growth that needs to happen. So I think that, I think it's tougher than being in just like a relationship with the same race.
We have a lot more questions. Tougher. Yeah. We have a lot more conversations that need to be had, like as it pertains to child rearing and our child identities, and like what that's going to be like, and what it's going to be like if we do decide to have kids and we send them off with your parents for however long. I do wonder about things like that. Like, what if just because you mix with a white guy or a white person doesn't necessarily mean that your kids are going to look extremely mixed. Like, I know it's very rare, right? I do know some mixed people that don't look mixed. It's pretty rare, but I do know a few that don't look mixed. And what if our kids are some of those? Great. Love that. Love it either way. But I am concerned about what their experience would be like. And if we ship them off with your parents for like a summer, are they going to have experiences that only they are aware of, and they're not going to be having anybody to talk to?
And they're
like
in the situation that you were in the beginning of the relationship.
So there's so much more like education that needs to happen. And if we did have children, I would expect you, and I think that you expect this of yourself, to have those talks with your parents to keep them aware. I don't have to have that talk.
It's a whole,
with my parents.
Like I said, it's a whole other aspect of like teaching and conversations and lessons that need to be learned. It's a whole other thing piled on top of just like a regular marriage or a regular, parenting dynamic, things like that. So it's not for people that just give up easily. And I think that the people who are in interracial relationships and they kind of sweep their interracial aspect under the rug or don't talk about it, don't think about it.
Yeah.
I think that
unrealistic.
It's just the people that are going to suffer from that are your children that you have, where there's a situation that may happen, which I think it happens, right? It happens a lot to kids, and you're put in a dynamic where you're in an uncomfortable situation, and now your parent that you should be the person that you'll be able to go to, they don't know how to have those conversations with you,
right? Or
they don't know how to work through that with you,
right?
So I think that can be a slippery slope of just being like, love is love, and like we don't see color, that whole thing, that whole sweeping it under the rug. And it's like, obviously I also don't think it's a good idea to obsess over it, the racial aspect of it, and put fear into your kids' minds or fear into your partner's minds, whatever. I think that can also be a slippery slope, but I think being realistic and being aware of certain things, and being subtle about it and having those conversations is a good way to go.
Yeah. I personally, when we get the love is love, don't see color. I hate those comments. I hate them. I understand the sentiment, but it's incorrect.
It's just because, not realistic.
It's not. If you don't see my color, then you are choosing not to see my lived experience. Therefore, when I come to you with a problem that has to do with somebody else seeing my color,
you don't see my problems.
You're not going to see my problems. And I just
be open to it.
Exactly. I just don't believe in that at all. I think that is a mindset that's unrealistic, and it, like you said, sweeps things under the rug. I can't believe it's 2024 and we're still talking about this. Do you guys know how somebody today was like, it's 2024 and we're still talking about racial dating, and it's 2024 and we're still talking about racial dating, and we're still talking about interracial dating and interracial love. Love is love. Just love who you love.
Have you read the rest of the comments in this section? It's still a thing. People are still have something to say about it. They still have negative things to say about it, positive things to say about it. It still is a conversation on a lot of people's minds.
What drives me crazy though is they'll be like, segregation ended over 60 years ago. And I'm like, you know how small of a blip? That's not even registered on the radar as a blip, because that is so minuscule in the amount of time that humans have been socializing with one another. So you think that this last 60 years is going to wipe out 400, 500 and centuries of racial dynamics?
Just like systemic things that have been ingrained into our environment.
Because
especially,
of 60 years?
Especially in America. Like America was like America was the worst of it all. So it's like, and it's the most recent thing too, because you hear these people being like, oh, well, in Ireland they had slaves from, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like they're always talking about like, well, these are actually these people had like a whole population of slaves and they've gotten over that, or they've figured it out. Yeah, but like it wasn't as recent as it was in American history. Like in American history, it's like very recent still, that's not a long time ago.
Right. And what's 60 years to 400 years? Be serious.
And then things were just kind of like there was just like band-aids put on top of things of like, there were things that ended up, there were racist operations and racist things that just became institutions that just became the institutions that are still today.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's the foundation of them. So until, I don't know what's got to happen until we break down those institutions or like break down the foundation of all those and rebuild it up in like a equal way, that will always be there. Like it's like a Native American burial ground, you know, like we're walking around on all this, you know, this horrible thing that happened. And, you know, a lot of these houses are being haunted by their past. You know what I mean? Literally, the houses that are being built on top of these things are being haunted by it.
Not to laugh at that, but speaking of haunted, one of my best friends, white, got married in this like podunk town someplace in North Carolina. Love her, but the town was just very, you could smell the racism in the air. And the place that they had the bridal party was at this huge plantation home.
Yeah.
It was a huge plantation home. And I went there and like literally it was rolling hills. And as I just felt this overwhelming feeling of like ancestral presence. And Grant was freaking out. Like I just really felt like maybe not my direct lineage of ancestors were there, but I felt like this power of Black slave ancestry present. Did you feel that? Did you feel that too?
I mean, I felt like this is a very creepy place, like a plantation home that was definitely housing slaves at one point.
Because it's a plantation home in the South. You should have seen these hills, guys. It went on for like ever.
It was really, really creepy house, and it was a really creepy area, and it was like just bad vibes. Not good
for you,
from it.
And that's why I brought it up, because Grant was like, "Oh my God, I get so many bad vibes here."
Yeah,
and he was like, "I feel like there's like spirits in here haunting the house." I was like, "Well, they come for you, not me. I'm good." And I went to sleep.
It was not a good vibe there. That whole town, not a good vibe.
Oh, the town,
not a good vibe.
The town.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then she was like, "Oh, I love this town." I said.
They're so progressive.
Yeah, I was like, girl, this town is kind of scary, no? And she was like, no, I love this town. It's so progressive. We're going to have our wedding at this bar that closed down. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And she said, yeah, the person that's officiating our wedding is gay. I said, oh, hell yeah, that's really cool. And
it's a gay couple that's getting married.
Yeah, gay couple getting married. And we were at the courthouse because she didn't want to pay for like an actual like ceremony at a place, which is totally fine. So they got married at the courthouse, put a bunch of pride flags up all over the place. And I shit you not, within the first 5 minutes of us being there, some dude drove by in a truck and was like, "Get that gay shit out of here."
Yes, it's yelled something crazy like that.
Super homophobic.
Yeah, like the first like 10 minutes that we're there, we're like,
and I was like,
so
girl,
progressive.
I thought you said this was progressive.
Yeah.
And then it continued on, and she'd be like, oh, we're going to have the reception here because this bar closed down. And it's actually owned by the same person, the gay man that officiated our wedding. I said, oh, that's super cool. Why does bar close down? And she said, because he was getting a lot of hate things happening to him. He was getting hate crimed. Girl, I thought you said this was progressive.
I know. Why? Yeah.
So we hear 5 minutes. Something racist happens. Well, not racist, but something homophobic happens. We hear 5 minutes. And then you saying it's progressive. And then like an hour later, you're telling me that the bar that we're going to shut down because the owner is gay and he kept getting hate crimed. There's nothing progressive about this town at all. And on top of
all that hate, middle of the summer in the South, outside, all I'm going to say, it was very, very hot. That's all we'll say about that.
Yeah.
We feel...
They had good cake.
Yeah. All right.
But it was way too hot.
It was way too hot.
Outside.
It was way too hot. But yeah, so I mean, I think that, you know, the whole interracial aspect of us... interracial dynamic we have, I think that it's definitely added another layer. It's definitely added another layer of perspective and perception from on top of our just us being in a relationship in general.
I love that.
But I think it's made us bond even more, maybe because because it took us more time to fully understand and, you know, fully just figure each other out in that type of way as well. So I think it's been a learning lesson, and I'm glad we got through a lot of the things we got through, and I'm glad we figured each other out.
Me too. You're hot.
You're sexy.
Oh my God, stop. Don't talk to me like that, Grant. It's going to be a problem. I love you so much.
All right. So now
we're not breaking up.
We're not breaking up. It's not happening. Okay, so now we have a listener letter.
We do have a listener letter.
It's, I believe, about interracial dating.
Yep. Yes, it is. So we've had a lot of submissions recently, people asking us about interracial relationships. This one's kind of crazy Should I read the crazy one or should we just give some quick advice? Because this one's intense.
How intense?
It's not horrible, but it's intense.
Okay. Yeah, let's read the crazy one.
Okay.
Let's get crazy.
Let's get crazy. Okay. And, next time we have one of these interracial talks, we'll talk about more about children, more about certain fetishization things that we faced.
We'll do another episode where we can kind of go more into depth on those certain things.
Yeah, but I do want to say, no, I don't hate black men. Stop asking me that.
Yeah, that's not the case here.
Jeez. Why are you promoting interracial relationships? I'm just black.
Yeah.
Like, he's
She's
just white.
black.
I don't
I'm
know.
just white,
Okay.
Not much we can do about that.
So we have a listener letter, and it says, "Hey, hanging out forever," which I love. How respectful. So sweet. Hey, hanging out forever. I have something I want to talk about. So I'm saving up for a divorce because I'm married to a mentally and physically abusive partner, and he is a white guy. We have been together for almost 5 years. This year in August will be our official 5 years. And we have 2 biological girls, but I have another daughter from a previous relationship. Altogether, 3 daughters. I have always loved white men. They are my preference. I'm not trying to be funny, but I did all of my first with white guys, and I would have never imagined that the man I was going to marry would be my worst nightmare, literally.
Whoa.
I'm scared that once I get divorced, that I will just meet another white guy that is just as bad or not interested in me, because I also weigh 250 pounds and I'm 5'8". I know the majority of white guys love small women. Yes, once I get divorced, I'll be going to therapy and not dating for a couple of years so I can heal from this toxic marriage. But with all that, I'm worried that the right white guy will never find me attractive, especially here in the state of Georgia. It's really racist here in Georgia. I love my job and I'm in school, but it's just a lot. I'm also scared that I won't let another man in my life because it shows that white guys treat black women right, but I end up getting the worst of the white guys. Jeez. And seeing these TikTok videos of happily married interracial couples makes me wonder, why am I getting the wrong white guys? Any advice would be great.
Dang. Well,
it's a lot.
I think to start, you shouldn't see something on the internet, like on TikTok, and just fully believe that every white guy is going to be that way or every relationship's going to be that way.
Yeah.
To find the right person, you have to do some type of like investigative work there.
Right.
Just to make sure that you don't get in the situation you are where you end up having children with this person.
Right.
And you get stuck in a situation where you're being abused mentally and physically. I think that in kind of what we talked about earlier of sweeping certain things under the rug, you have to make sure, I think it's really important that if you, especially in the dynamic of a black woman dating a white guy, I think that when you're a woman of color, you should do that extra work of making sure that you have those hard conversations.
Due diligence.
Yeah, you do your due diligence when you're dating a white guy, especially, to make sure that they understand your perspective and they understand your experience. Because I think a white guy's immediate reaction is going to be just sweeping things under the rug because it's not something that they've had to deal with. It's a lifestyle that they haven't had to deal with. So they don't want to have those hard conversations and be put in an uncomfortable situation. I went through that. And I think that you have to have those conversations with them, and I'm not saying that it's all on you to be the one who brings those things up or to be the one who has to spearhead those conversations, because eventually that guy should be well versed enough to have those conversations with you and to be able to bring those things up. But I think that in the beginning of the relationship, you have to do your due diligence and make sure that they're on the same page with you and make sure that they're not fucking racist. You have to make sure that they don't have some type of ulterior motive, and you need to just do that due diligence.
Right. Yeah. For me, I would say, I would probably say don't limit yourself to one type of guy.
That too. Yeah.
You know, if you're serial dating white men and you feel like you keep dating bad white men, maybe remove the veil of perception that all white men are good and that all white men are kind. I don't think that that's a fair perception for anybody to have. I don't think all of one race, culture, or ethnic group is good. I think that people vary. And if it's been your experience that no matter how many white guys you get with, you're getting the worst of the worst, then maybe you should try to date outside of that. It seems to me that there is a little bit of fear or apprehension surrounding dating within your own race or culture. I definitely think that maybe you should try dating outside of white men, because one of the things that I like to talk about with our podcast is I never want to make it seem like white men are the goal. And I think that that is a toxic ideology that happens a lot online, where there are women, and I understand their point. I do understand where they're coming from. Do I agree with it? No. I understand why they're saying it, but do I think it's correct? Not personally.
Yeah.
And so I think it's unfair to rule out an entire group of men and to promote a different group of men thinking that they would be the better option. I think that good people are good people, and they are just in general very hard to come by and very hard to find. But if I had as many bad experiences with white men as it seems that you've had, I would literally probably never date them again. Like, that would scar me, especially being married to one. So I just would take them off of the pedestal it seems that you have them on.
Removing that perception that she said she has of when she's looking on TikTok and things like that, and she's seeing all this kind of rhetoric, the same rhetoric that we get, the same comments we get of being like, oh, you should date a white guy because he'll take care of you, all these things. Like, putting these blanket statements out there is never, you should never rely on them, because that's just not the case. That's not the case. Everybody is their own person, and there's going to be bad people, there's going to be good people. It doesn't matter what their race is or anything like that. So you shouldn't rely on that.
And this is a black woman. At the end, she said, white guys treat black women right. I do understand why people, why that happens, why that conversation is swirling online, that white men treat black women better. I do understand why that happens, or why that's people's perceptions.
Like pages that are dedicated to it. You know what I mean? It's something that's definitely
there's pages like that for black people too.
Up. But yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's one of those things that is this category that's getting propped up on the internet right now.
Agree,
especially right now, I feel like.
You know, I just would probably try something else. I would try something else, and I wouldn't think that I would refrain from assuming or hoping that white men are going to be your saviors for love. I think that a lot of people think, oh, all I need is a white man and he'll love me, right? There are white men who are going to be great, just like there are black men that are going to be great. There are Mexican men that are going to be great. There's Japanese men that are going to be great. I don't know. There's men that are going to be great. But also with white men, as a black woman, you have to kind of have one that's ready to have those conversations, because you could get with a guy that just likes you for you, but then when things get hard and you need to have those real conversations,
that's why I think it's
the
specific dynamic of white and black, because of those barriers that are already in between that. So that's where it gets intensified.
Yeah, but shout out to you knowing that you will need to go to therapy and to not date for a couple of years. Hopefully, whatever patterns of men that you seem to be drawn to with therapy after your divorce, and shout out to you for saving up for your divorce. That is so smart. That is so smart. I really just respect the hell out of that. I think that a lot of people, when it's time for them to get divorced, they just cut and run, but you really do have to have a plan.
Yeah, you got to have some type of plan.
And the fact that he's abusive, and we don't know in what additional ways. He could be financially abusive, physically abusive, mentally abusive, like she said, but like, to save up for a divorce is so smart, because you're putting yourself in a really good position. I hope that you're able to get out of that situation with him soon, but I definitely think that therapy is the way to go, and to hopefully unlearn some of the patterns of men that you feel and find yourself attracted to.
My advice would be kind of similar to what Age just said, of trying just a whole new thing, trying a whole new person, trying to even, having a new experience of the way you meet people, the way, the type of people you're meeting, the environment you're meeting them in. Just try something new if something has not been working in the past.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that stop dating white guys, but maybe just, where you meet these white people at, or where you, like where online, or the way that the conversations start in the beginning. Because it goes back to what we're saying about having those conversations early, those uncomfortable conversations of the dynamic of being black and white, because I think that a person who's going to be understanding of that is going to be understanding in a lot of other ways.
Right.
And is going to be a person that has that understanding and has that patience. And that just, it takes a lot for it, or it doesn't take a lot, but it's just, it shows a lot about a person, about a white guy who is open to seeing that perspective and putting themselves in a position of like, you know what, I'm in the wrong here. I don't know your experience, and I'm open to understanding your experience. Right. Like a person who's open to that is typically going to be a good guy, I would say, because they're not ego driven, they're not obsessed with only them being I'm right, like you're wrong. Right. You know what I mean? Like this is they're just not as obsessed with their own perspective on life.
Right. And my concern is that you do have a daughter that's not with him. I don't know what that's like. I hope he's not saying racist stuff to y'all. Yeah. Because he could be the type of white guy that's like, you N-words to all the little mixed kids, and then the black woman in the room. That would be crazy. And as it pertains to, weighing 250 and being 5'8", majority of white guys love small women. I would say that is probably very true. That's true. I would say that white men in general like more petite women. But do I think that is a barrier to stop you from finding like the white guy of your dreams if you want to continue with white guys? No. But I do.
I think this opens up, having this divorce and things like that opens up time and effort that you can be putting into yourself. So if you want,
in multiple different ways.
Yeah. Like it's up to you. If you want to lose weight, if you want to get, have a little glow up, do whatever you want to do. You have the more time to do that, and you have more personal time and space for you to be able to do those certain things. So I would take that time.
It's about confidence, baby.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, take that time to work on yourself and figure things out. Figure out, how to go about meeting men, right? How to go about meeting, new men, and just make sure that you're doing it for yourself and doing it to the best of your ability.
And there's this dating coach that I follow on TikTok. Obviously, I don't need a dating coach. I just find what he says really, really interesting. And I think his name is like, for some reason, I think it's LeVar. Why do I think it's LeVar? Let me tell you right now what his name is. Anwar. That was close. His name is Anwar White. I'll tag him right here. It's dating coach Anwar, and he is a dating coach, a black man who specifically helps black women navigate dating. I mean, I don't need it. I just find his perspective really, really interesting. So maybe check him out, because he gives a lot of really great perspectives on where to and to not go to find men, and like, what are the men like in Atlanta? What are the worst dating pools, the best dating pools? But ultimately, I just think that like, get out of the toxic marriage and maybe don't focus so much on finding the right white guy. I think that when you go into a relationship already putting somebody on a pedestal, you might miss a lot of the red flags along the way because you're so concerned with making this type of person work.
The physical aspect of them.
Right. You're trying to make this type of person work. And everybody's, entitled to their preference. Totally. Whatever. But if you feel like your preference has been leading you astray, and you're looking at people like us who are in a interracial relationship and it's not toxic and it's healthy, and you start wondering, why me? I don't want you to be in that situation. I think that's an unfair position for you to put yourself in, because it's not always sunshine and rainbows and daisies here. That's why we started the podcast in the first place, is to talk about keeping it real. But is he abusive? Is he toxic? Is he mentally draining? No. So yeah, definitely get out of there. And I love that you're getting therapy, and be brave. Like, don't let this stop you from finding somebody else that you want to be with, because you even say, like, I'm scared I won't let another man into my life because it shows that white guys treat black women right. I just don't want anybody to get hung up on the idea that white men treat black women so well. You know, it's been my experience, but I've only dated one white guy, you know. I've really only dated one white guy, and most of the black women that I see online, the big ones that are like interracial, whatever, I don't think that they've dated a bunch of white guys either. I think it's like they're one-off type situations. But that being said, don't be scared. It takes a lot of bravery to date. It takes so much bravery to find love. And I just don't want you to quit. Yeah.
No, don't quit. Don't quit. Just work on yourself. You have time to yourself now, and put in that effort to better yourself and better the ways that you find that new partner.
Yeah, and stay safe. Stay safe. Yeah, because if he's crazy, then stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe.
Yeah, but I think that would be it. Keep us posted. Yeah. Hopefully everything goes well. Hopefully, we would love to know how your love journey is going in the future.
Yeah, and hopefully our advice helped in some type of way.
Right. And that brings us to our last little segment, which is relationship advice on how to hang out forever. And mine would be to find a way to honor and respect your partner. Does that bore you?
What? No, I'm just
kidding. Mine would be find a way to honor and respect your partner. I know that there's a lot of like men out there who are like, I want to be respected and I want to be honored as a man. Most of the time that's annoying to hear, but it actually is true. But they should also be an honorable and respectable man.
Yeah, the respect has to go both ways.
It has to go both ways. And I feel like when I stopped being less combative and more kind on a like daily basis to you, not that I was a fucking asshole, but I think that when I started prioritizing kindness in our relationship and letting you know how much I feel about you and how valued you are to me, that really changed a lot of how our relationship has unfolded. You're a lot more relaxed now. I'm a lot less defensive. You're a lot less scared. You know, I think that there are times where we as women are expecting our men to drop the ball, and we put that pressure on them, and that manifests into them perhaps dropping the ball or not performing to our expectations. So when I say like respect and honor your partner, I also mean respect and honor yourself, and take less pressure off of yourself, because oftentimes you're projecting that onto your partner as well. And when I was able to differentiate the pressure I was putting on myself and realize that I was projecting that onto you, I really feel like that changed the dynamic of one of the dynamics of our relationship, and it made you start feeling more safe and me start feeling more safe. And I feel like, you know, and you feel more comfortable in how I trust you now. I'll be like, whatever you want, baby.
Yeah.
Because I used to hover. I used to be like, what are you doing?
There's like a magnifying glass on you. You're like bound to
fuck that up?
Mess something up, or like every little thing is getting watched. You're gonna screw it up.
And so now I just am like, okay, baby, whatever you want. And it's not to pacify you. It's because I trust you. Do it, whatever. You know, just keep me posted, whatever it is. And I think that level of respect has fostered more trust and more safety and more health in our overall relationship.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree.
And I think you're hot.
I think that thank you. Yeah, I guess my advice will kind of be the other side of what you're saying there, of make sure that if your partner has an issue, you're growing and you're making sure that you can fulfill that need that they need as a partner. You know, it's typically they're not asking you to change who you are. You know, they just need more from you as a partner, and they feel like they're not getting more. And so you can't take it personally, and you can't be like, oh, you don't like me for who I am. you have to look at it in a way of they love who I am and they want me to fit myself in better to who they are, you know, or fit myself better into this partnership to where we both can be the best of ourselves, you know. And I think that was something that we went through, you know,
right,
of me not being able to step up in certain ways, or me not spearheading situations where you needed me to spearhead and you can just kind of take the back seat. And as I grew and was able to do that, you lightened up more on me. And like you did what you just said, you know, you were able to take your hands off the wheels and trust and fully trust me, and just be able to, you know, take the back seat while I'm able to drive the car.
Right.
And then it just goes both ways after that, you know, like now I feel comfortable doing it. I feel comfortable, you know, spearheading a situation and taking the initiative on certain things. And I know that that's what you needed from me, so you can lighten up.
Yeah.
And then now that you've lightened up, like now I can lighten up in a sense too.
Yeah.
So it goes. Just know that like you're gonna give and take with your partner.
Yeah.
You know, like you're going to have to give to her or to them, and they will give that back in a certain sense. Especially if it's reasonable things. If it's just a bunch of unreasonable stuff and you guys are fighting about it, and they just don't like you and who you are.
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
There's a lot of that. Yeah.
Or if they just like, if it's things like that, then that is a totally different thing than just certain aspects of who you are not as compatible with them. And it's up to you. It's up to you if you want to change those certain things. If you think the relationship is worth it and you think that that person is worth it for the long run, then you have no problem fixing those things.
I love it. That was great. Yeah. I think that a lot of male, female, or whatever dynamics in a relationship are often influenced by each other.
Yeah.
So when I lightened up on you,
it's usually
you stepped up more.
Exactly. And it's not to change each other, it's to enhance each other.
Right. I think a lot of people kind of mistake that.
Yeah.
She wants me to do this and that. She wants me to change. No, it's about enhancements.
Yeah. It's about growing. It's about like becoming the new and improved version of our relationship. So that's going to be it. That's about it.
Yeah. I love you. You're hot.
I love you.
Take a shot for every time I said Grant was hot. You're hot. You're hot. You're hot. You're hot. You're hot. They're drunk. You're hot.
It's fucked up.
You're hot. Yeah. Well, we appreciate y'all for tapping into this episode of Hanging Out Forever podcast. My name is Asia Corinne, like I said, and this is my hot boyfriend of 8 years, Grant Blackwell. And we appreciate y'all.
Thank you guys.